Pair of transfers and key parts to this team honored senior night here inside Gamble Pavilion. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal. Conference tournament on the horizon, NCAA tournament on the horizon, and 9th-ranked UConn welcoming Xavier for the final regular season game of the year. Big East standings, #1 seed already locked up for the Huskies. Tonight, a chance to clinch an outright conference title for a 10th straight year. Hey folks, how are you? Jason Horowitz, Julianne Vianney-Brain, happy to have you with us here in Stores. They've had to gut out some wins. It's been a lot closer than in years past, but here they are atop the conference again.
And that's what's impressive. Despite the injury-laden season the Huskies have had, they've been able to still pull out wins against teams that are the strongest that we've seen in a long time in the Big East. It's been very impressive.
And with different players in different roles. It is senior night. Lou Lopez-Seneschal, the transfer from Fairfield, will honor her here tonight.
She's been such a pro all season. She really gets to her spots on the floor, makes the right cuts and reads. She's just a finisher from anywhere. The coaching staff's done a terrific job just running actions and getting her shots.
Meanwhile, for Xavier, Michaela Scarlett, in a year where they've had so many injuries, a little bit more consistent.
She's had to take on the point guard role, and she's handled it without hesitation. She's really needed to facilitate while also score and generate offense, so she's by far their most important piece of the puzzle.
As they try to pull a massive upset, our keys to the game brought to you by Daisy Cottage Cheese.
Xavier's got to compete from start to finish. No letdowns against a tough UConn squad. Control the pace, make sure they slow it down, and then for the Huskies, keep the game up-tempo, try to run on them, and stay out of foul trouble. They are not deep.
It was an absolutely crazy college basketball weekend to lead us into a week where conference tournaments start. The opening tip is coming up next. Don't tell anyone inside this building that they're expecting a huge snowstorm, because they're all jam-packed in here. Melanie Moore in her 4th season as the head coach of Xavier, trying to get her team its first conference win on the road here as we take a look at the starting lineups. They've had some changes. Xavier with injuries all year long. Courtney Pranger, the emotional leader. Meanwhile, for Gino Auriemma, he certainly understands all about injuries. Does not have Dorka Juhas tonight. Ankle injury in the win against DePaul. She came back and played, but will not play tonight.
I would say a safe thing to sit her with the luck they've had this season.
The Big East tournament getting underway later this week. Huskies 17-2 in conference play this year. Xavier on an 18-game losing streak, tied for the longest in school history. Nika Mule's been hot for 3 of late. And the rebound comes down to Taylor Smith, the grad transfer from Ole Miss, who is a good shooter, just hasn't been able to get him to fall the last couple of weeks.
Right, she's got to continue to just take those shots as they come. Once you get to this point in the season, Jason, you've got to just let it roll.
Scarlett down to Pranger. As Julianne said, the key for Xavier is to try and take a lot of time off the clock, but not allow transition. Mule, Lopez, Seneschal, the trailer. Offensive rebound, but Aaliyah Edwards brought it down and then to turnover.
It's also going to have to do with a lot of rebounding. If you don't rebound against UConn, they're going to get it and run, and you'll see them execute easily.
73-37, UConn the win in Cincinnati earlier this year, back in January. Xavier has to get off to a better start, and it's knocked out of bounds. It'll stay Musketeer basketball. If you're wondering about the face mask for Aaliyah Edwards, the broken nose, there was a story back in October. She doesn't have to wear the mask anymore. She has been cleared to take it off.
But she's had such a good year with that thing on. She's going to keep it on. I would too.
Under 5 to shoot. Pranger trying to find a cutter. And back-to-back turnovers. Now, did the jump ball signal come first or the shot clock violation? It is a shot clock violation. So we'll go back to UConn. Now it's a Huskies team. They lost last week at home to St. John's. It sent shockwaves throughout the conference. Multiple conference regular season losses for the first time in a decade. And then they had to gut one out at DePaul and a come-from-behind fourth-quarter win as Lopez Seneschal will go to the free-throw line. And
that's what I meant in our open when I said this is the strongest we've seen the Big East Conference in a very long time. And after that DePaul win, Coach Auriemma was talking about that. Listen, there were years past where you could lose a few and still win the conference tournament, and they're kind of coming back to that strength, that type of schedule you see in the Big East. But St. John's is a team to look out for. I mean, they've been great all season.
Lou Lopez Seneschal got to experience senior night last year at Fairfield. Her family in from France, her mom, her stepdad, her sister here.
Never imagined she'd get to play on this stage. Pretty incredible, her career.
Edwards, all kinds of pressure, 35 feet away from the basket. On the cut, Anaya Harris. Again, it's deep in the shot clock. That's not a bad thing, though, for Xavier, but they got to get better shots than that.
Yeah, tough shot, and that's a credit to UConn's tough defense.
Lopez Seneschal on the dish. So far, Xavier playing pretty good defense.
They're playing pretty tenacious, and talking to Melanie Moore before the game, she told them to just really let it rip. You have nothing to lose, so go out, have fun, and play hard. Just compete.
It was Scarlett on the drive. Got it up in the air, but an offensive foul called.
And you've really got to be ready for the pull-up jumper against a team like Connecticut. And Lopez Seneschal just standing there, taking the contact.
Edwards a little bit too hot on the pass for Aubrey Griffin. And Xavier is laying out of bounds. Scarlett laying on the end line with the ball in her chest. Well, 2 minutes and 42 seconds into a game for UConn and no field goals yet. And again, no Dorka Juhas tonight. You know the story all year long with AZ Fudd, who they're hoping to get back for the Big East tournament. She was working out with the team today.
It's also senior night. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of emotion. And then it's the bench. A lot of injuries that we keep harping on. This is just the story of the season for UConn. Hence why it's so incredible to see how well they've actually done, losing all these players that were potential player of the year type players, not just role players.
Ducharme has the first bucket, and she's only played in 16 games this year. And not that that is a story that is new. It's a story that's been told all year with this Huskies team. Mule in transition. Throws it away.
And they've also turned it over a little bit more this season, as we've seen. Connecticut plays a little bit up-tempo. They turn it over a bit. You know, Coach Auriemma not too happy about that one.
Shoot around this afternoon. They were going pretty hard because they realized the push here is down the stretch. And they haven't played as well as they'd like down the stretch either. And it traveled. So that is 3 turnovers in 4 possessions for Xavier.
But the defense is always going to be there, and that's important. You see the high pressure, the denial there from Aaliyah Edwards. And then on the other end, that creates an opportunity. So that defense to offense for Connecticut, so impressive.
Well, and that assist from Nika Mule just tied the single season record with Sue Bird from 21 years ago. Her next assist will break that.
And she was a player who thought she'd be more of a role-type player this year, who's just been their primary ball handler.
Good cut, Harris at the elbow, just died on the rim and fell in. A 3-point ball game 4 minutes in. Griffin in transition.
Smart decision, pull it out.
Ducharme for 3. Timeout, Xavier. Aubrey Griffin is holding her wrist as well. Not what they want to see, but they're starting to find the rhythm.
Yeah, great passing, good transition game. The finish from Lou Lopez Seneschal, and then Ducharme from distance knocks one down.
Back with you inside Gamble Pavilion, 8-2 early lead here for UConn. Now, a team that has been dealing with injuries all season long doesn't want to see any more. And right before we went to break, we showed you Aubrey Griffin holding her right wrist. It looked like either it was on the catch or maybe on the swipe through where she hurt it with Linnea Harris.
Yeah, let's hope that she's okay. She has had just an incredible season. They cannot afford to lose one more player. And she is holding her wrist. We haven't had word about what's going on. But she seems okay.
Yeah. Well,
it's a good
remember,
sign.
You know, Aubrey Griffin last year missed the entire season with back surgery, was using a cane to get around. This her junior season. I mean, she's played a role that has been phenomenal, averaging over 13 a game. Yeah,
she's taken on a huge scoring role. She's gained so much confidence. She's been an enormous X factor for this team and a reason for their success.
Fernanda Valle on the floor for Xavier, the freshman from Santiago, Chile. She's a great option to take it to the basket. Scarlett steps back and drains the triple.
No, you just heard nothing but net with that one. That was a pretty step back, creating that space for Scarlett. Boy, if she can make some of those, that'll certainly bode well for Xavier.
After the sloppy start, UConn has hit its last 3 shots. Out to Ducharme, she hit from there and does again.
That's Caroline Ducharme's thing. She can really make shots in a hurry from distance. Good patience from UConn.
There's the freshman from Chile with Nika Mule all over. Scarlett steps back again. Pranger chases down an offensive rebound.
You could use any one of those you could get, or some of those old boards to give yourself some extra possessions.
Valle, a lot of dribbling. Nice pass into the middle, and Shelby Calhoun, the junior from Louisville, rattles it in.
And that's the way to get yourself into space. Calhoun just redirects herself, finds the space, a good pass.
Xavier hanging around. You said, can they have a good first quarter? Everything out of the timeout. But that time they got the mismatch. Edwards on Calhoun.
Yeah, just too easy. And great recognition.
Backed her way back. Inside of 4 minutes here in the opening quarter. Edwards and a foul. And that is on Pranger. And you're cutting without the basketball here.
Yeah, we've got a great drive here for Xavier. Calhoun with the finish. And then another terrific pass from Mule, of course, into Edwards. And Edwards just really establishing herself on the block and noticing that mismatch.
A foul on the inbounds. And that is the 5th on the Musketeers, so free throws for the Huskies the rest of the quarter.
And you see Xavier wants to play physical. They are mixing it up inside.
Lopez Seneschal back to the free throw line, an 87% free throw shooter who has missed a pair here in the opening quarter. Well, that foul was on Michaela Scarlett. That is her 2nd, so she is on the bench. Actually, checking it. She's staying on the floor with 2 fouls.
I don't think Melanie Moore has a choice but to keep her on the floor. A great move to the basket from Ovalle. And this Xavier team has battled a lot of injuries too throughout the season, and they're one of the youngest teams in the league.
Edwards, the spot-up jumper.
I don't think anybody can really match up with Aaliyah Edwards tonight.
She had that great game against South Carolina with 25 points on 10 of 14 shooting. Been a little bit more difficult the last couple of weeks averaging just about 12 points.
Well, it really only matters now as you enter March, how you start to play.
Xavier turns it over again. Stay with Xavier, shot clock there at 4. Lopez Seneschal will get a seat over on the bench. Anna Patterson, great rebounds down the stretch to Paul. Scarlett for 3. Long rebound and UConn on the run. Mule, great find. Griffin the finish.
I just love the patience of Nika Mule. I mean, she is just one of the best point guards in the country.
She has 6 assists in the quarter.
What she's been able to do this year has been just next level.
She's on pace for more than 20 in the game and a foul, which will send Anea Harris to the free throw line. It is on Aaliyah Edwards. That's the first foul tonight called on UConn. Well, look, to have 6 assists in a quarter, A, your teammates need to be either having good looks or making crazy shots. B, you have to find them in the right spot. She has done both.
It helps when you've got a lot of players that can score, let's be honest. I know, speaking from a former player, a former point guard and shooting guard, it sure does help to play with some girls that can put it in the basket. But she's got such a good eye, and she plays with that chip on her shoulder. Hey, Gino Ariema compared her to Jen Rosati, having that kind of chip, and it's the kind of player Jen was.
Harris hit them both. Nika Mule tonight has passed Sue Bird for most single-season assists in UConn history. Flies in for the offensive board.
And you just see how she tracked that board down, just the little things that Aubrey Griffin does.
Edwards put her head down, got to the basket.
Oh, she's so tough. Those extra possessions will just kill you.
Pranger cut to the basket, and Xavier offensively has done a nice job here in the opening quarter.
That was,
for a team, Julian, they don't score more than 50 a game.
They don't. That was an excellent play, a nice utilization of the two-man game, and then UConn just got lost. I mean, Xavier's got to continue to attack and play hard. This is a good job. See, this is where the help defense was a little bit late, and Pranger slipped, and she found a layup.
Edwards with 6 here in the opening quarter. The deep positioning again, and this time an offensive foul.
Edwards just kind of using her body there to push it on Pranger. Pranger playing physical and trying to establish position. And she's a player that Melanie Moore said she does whatever it takes to win. She defends every other post in the league, the toughest post. So she's got that experience.
Addie got an open look and a find. And Xavier offensively, after that rough first 4 minutes, they've had a wonderful final 5 minutes on the offensive end.
They look comfortable.
Yeah.
Very comfortable, poised. They're not flustered.
And they're on a 6-0 run. And a near steal from the freshman Addie to knock it out of bounds. You said Melanie Moore wants her team to play free. And yes, they're giving up size on the inside. They don't have the strength inside maybe to battle with Aaliyah Edwards, but they are doing it on the other end.
She just wants them to battle, and battling they are.
Betancourt on the kick out. Ducharme. Shot clock turned off, and Xavier's got a chance to be in a one-possession game after the end of the first quarter. Musketeers 0-19 in conference play. Ovalle hoists the three and banked it in. Well, much to the shock of this crowd, it's only a 2-point game after the opening 10 minutes. And a lot of momentum and excitement on the Xavier bench. Xavier ended the quarter on a 9-0 run, 2-point game. And you're watching March to March, presented by Principal. Now, UConn has played a lot of close games here this season, and they're in a surprising one right now, up just 2 on Xavier. And the Musketeers, as we take a look at our Reese's player profile, Courtney Pranger, the 6'1" senior from Minster, Ohio, started a team-high 28 games this season. The early childhood education major who grew up about 100 miles north of Xavier's campus in Minster. That's in middle school, where the uniforms were a lot bigger.
Yes, I remember wearing my shorts like that.
Well, but then senior day, when they were honored over the weekend, final game, her entire first grade class at Hyde Park Elementary, where she's student teaching, came to cheer her on over the weekend.
I just think that's just great. And what Coach Moore said about her, she's their glue player. She's been with her since year 1 at Xavier, and she just has that will to win. She's also scoring more from 3 this year. She's worked on her game quite a bit. A good person and player.
And she's got a tough battle in the paint. It's not a Xavier team that has a ton of size. But they've got the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead here on the road in the second quarter. Calhoun is fouled. It is on Ayanna Patterson. I mean, there's no way to otherwise around the fact that this is a massive surprise.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you go into this game thinking UConn is just going to come out really strong, and Xavier has come out really just unafraid and in attack mode, just like that. I mean, Ovalle with another great drive to the basket. They tied it right up here.
And they are on an 11-0 run here on the road.
They're just playing free, and they don't have anything to lose. UConn's playing tight right now. They're playing like they do have something to lose, and just a little bit lackadaisical from the start here.
Have you noticed that the last couple of weeks too?
Yes, I think so. But that's something that Gino doesn't want to see. He wants to see them starting to play their best at this point in the game or in the season.
Sharman the post, and there's Pranger coming with the double for another block. Julianne, Xavier lost the first meeting by score 73-37. They trailed by as many as 41 on their home floor. They've got a chance for the lead. Pranger inside and can't finish.
This team has done a good job staying positive. Coach Moore said that they've been reading the book, The Energy Bus, together. They've tried to stay positive. They have not lost that will to want to win and compete. You see how they're playing right now.
Well, offensively in the last couple of games, it hasn't showed in the amount of points.
But they've got to make shots. That's the area of improvement. You've got to obviously up your percentage at this point in the season.
Pranger to the left hand, and Xavier's got a lead on UConn on the road. Timeout, Gino Auriemma. And an absolute stunner here in the first half. Musketeers on a 13-0 run.
And Courtney Pranger with her back to the basket makes a dominant move in the lane, and they take the lead.
A 13-0 run for Xavier.
Xavier has just been really patient, really poised. They've gotten it from several people. Ovalle making some nice shots, and of course, down low, Pranger really dominant in the paint. She's handling her own, and she's being very physical with post play of UConn, but very impressive start, Jason, for the Musketeers, just playing really hard.
I'll put this in perspective. They feel they've been playing much better the last 3 games, but they have not played a game where the final score is Edwards snaps the drought. Xavier has not played a game where the final score has been in single digits the entire month of February. Now, we have no idea what this is going to turn out to be, but they have played very well in the first half.
Every team is going to give their best effort when they face UConn, especially here at Gamble Pavilion. Got a great crowd here. But what I've liked so far about Xavier, they've taken the good shot, or I would say they've taken the better shot versus just the good shot. And that's something they've struggled with this season at times.
Griffin on the drive, and you feel a different energy out of the timeout.
And you know that Gino said a lot probably in that break.
Well, they were working on offense very heavily. And he was yelling at his players at practice today, take the shot. Sometimes he feels like they have been a little bit timid throughout the course of this season. Edwards on the steal. Woods trying to get back. And a blocking call. You thought that was a travel.
Thought maybe she traveled there before she got the call, but I really like the defense. See, she's just poaching. Leah Edwards is just, she's finding her rhythm, poaching defensively. Great job, and I do think she took an extra step there. They thought that she did so because there was a foul, but she got away with one, I think. But a great defensive play, nonetheless. And that's what I like about her. She's a two-way player. And she has played with a chip on her shoulder all season.
He's freshman of the year 2 years ago. Bit of a disappointing sophomore season, but again, has had to step into difficult roles. And then tonight, on both sides of the floor, splits the pair, and UConn up 3. Dorka Juhas on the right side of your screen. Right, normally the front court tag team with Aaliyah Edwards, but not playing tonight. A boot on her right foot.
And that's a big loss. She's a 15 points a game player.
Lost out of bounds. It will stay with Xavier.
And you have to hope that Juhas is okay. You mentioned it in that DePaul game. She went down, came back in the game and dominated. But we just saw, we've seen players do that before and then they're out.
And Gino Auriemma telling us today she should be good to go when they get to the Big East tournament later this week. And another foul. That's on Nika Mule. What have you liked from Xavier's offense?
I like their patience. I think they're playing with a lot of poise. They're getting good shots, and they're taking good shots, not rushing. And they're not turning it over, Jason. That's huge when you play UConn. They're not turning it over and giving them extra possessions and chances to get down at the other end.
Well, that was the problem earlier. They had 4 turnovers in their first 6 possessions. 6 on the timer. Shelby Calhoun. They gotta go. Harris doesn't see it.
Excellent defense. And UConn just swarming. That's where it's gonna start for Connecticut. Their energy always starts on that end, and you start to really see that create their offense and their rhythm. You've got to be able to move the ball quickly and get out of double teams.
And they throw it into a turnover. Gino Auriemma just threw his hands in the air when he watched that offensive possession.
And he said at this point in the season, you are what you are. I thought that quote was interesting after their loss to St. John's.
Offensive foul, moving screen. Pranger never got set. That is her second. And again, they will have different parts back. Juhas will be back later this week. They are hoping AZ Fun will get some minutes during the Big East tournament, and she's working her way back as well.
We saw her in warm-ups today, just getting her rhythm, and I'm not going to play today, but she's close. And to get her back, not sure how she'll be, but she'll be back. That's huge. Nice slip. Aubrey Griffith so good without the basketball.
And again, to your point, get her some minutes, getting her rhythm, so that when they get to the NCAA tournament, whatever their seed is,
she'll be able to help. She'll be rested. Is this UConn team a little more tired because they're thin in the bench?
Up ahead to Griffin on the catch. Lopez Seneschal.
I thought Griffin had that shot.
Yeah.
Surprised she kicked it out. she had the size advantage as well.
Now this, according to our CBS Sports research team, UConn, who was listed when the committee had its final reveal on Friday, they were the number 7 overall team, a 2 seed. But the rest of this fact in St. John's, the last 4 in, the fact that the Big East is looking at possibly 5 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think St. John's is in. I mean, I really do. I think it's going to be one of the best years we've ever seen in a while from the Big East.
Charm finding Mule. Edwards, the offensive putback. And what a tap out. Shelby Calhoun to herself. Adding a lot of speed, maybe a little out of control, but Nika Mule with the bump. And that is her second foul. So 2 on Mule and 2 on Edwards.
That was one of my keys. Stay out of foul trouble for UConn because they really don't have a lot of people to turn to. Nice job here again in attack mode. Xavier is constantly sending people to the rim, and that was Kaylee Addy. Now Mule coming out of the game. You don't have your point guard, your floor general in there, and things are not quite the same when she's not on the floor.
Yeah, Inez Betancourt on the floor, the freshman from Portugal. Played a little bit in the first quarter, had 4 minutes against DePaul. Calhoun on the take, and it's back to a 1-possession game.
Shelby Calhoun, the Virginia Tech transfer. She knows how to fill the stat sheet.
Well, you talk about energy, too, as Edwards had it blocked. Remember, UConn took the timeout with 8 minutes to go in the quarter. And so that's a long stretch here without a TV timeout, but they get another takeaway.
A lot of their positives are coming from their defense here. UConn getting possessions back.
Lopez Seneschal yet to hit a 3 in this game, and she's fouled. It's on the pass.
And UConn's losses this year, they haven't been able to score as much. If you notice, the scores were in the 50s and 60s. It's when they have struggled. Xavier's defense here has been pretty solid. And they've been able to be physical.
Now, to your point, the win against DePaul on Saturday snapped a streak of 5 straight games for UConn, failing to score 70. And Lopez Seneschal rings up her first 3.
That much needed bucket.
You had just talked about Xavier not turning it over. Then they went on a run of 5 turnovers in the last 5 minutes.
Jinxed it.
Valle in a tough spot, finding Harris on the cut.
That's always the toughest battle when you play Connecticut.
Lopez Seneschal again. Now UConn raced out to an 11-point lead in the first quarter. Xavier had a 2-point advantage 2 minutes into the second quarter. We're here with a 6-point UConn game. And Griffin is fouled on the floor. They've been trying to get good looks for Lopez Seneschal.
That's what I like what the coaching staff's done. They've done a good job getting her action shots. That was a good job just relocating and the kick out. Aaliyah Edwards is not just a black hole. She's not looking to just take it every time. She has a good passing ability too.
Betancourt on the find. Lopez Seneschal lofted off her foot. That's 5 turnovers for the Huskies. Ovalle to the bucket. And it's knocked out of bounds. Betancourt did a great job getting back on defense.
A really great job here defensively. And Ovalle in transition. But then Lou Lopez Seneschal, like you said, Jason, just a good hustle play by her, but goes back to Xavier. But that was a good play. You stopped a layup by hustling back, even after the turnover.
Remy Ruiz Asqui in for the first time for Xavier, freshman from Spain. Scarlett playing with 2 fouls, and Betancourt steals it and gives it right back to Michaela Scarlett. Good hustle play, but she was going to get called for traveling and she didn't get rid of the ball.
Xavier really looking out there. That would have been a layup.
Scarlett into traffic. Active hands for the defense. Ranger looking for a cutter. Tough pass. Ovalle, tough shot.
Xavier having a hard time getting good looks off these last few possessions. They've been in a bit of a drought here.
Hit just one of their last 7 shots. Couple that with the turnovers. That's how you get a 2-point lead into a 6-point deficit. Make it a 9-point deficit. And make it a timeout for Xavier. They'll step aside. 9-point UConn lead. Coming up, AT&T 5G at the half. Adam Zucker, Sarah Kustok will break down this game. Back and forth. They'll get you caught up on other action around the country. Full night in the Big East. Last day of the regular season. It's all coming up on AT&T 5G at the half. Lou Lopez Seneschal, her last game in this building. Her first and only year in this building. Dorka Juhas as well, the transfer from Ohio State. She celebrated senior night last year and then had the wrist injury in the Elite 8 win over NC State and decided to come back.
And you get these seasoned veterans on your squad, so the transfer portal, all that really can benefit teams. Now you can get really old teams, old and veteran.
Mule had 6 assists in the opening quarter. Yet to score. And now she'll have an opportunity to change that at the free throw line with 3 free throws.
That's where you just don't want to foul a player when she catches it on the three-point line like that, but Mule nearly made that.
Yep. Well, it was the 3rd on Pranger too, which is a problem for Melanie Moore.
Just a little body after the fact. Not much of a foul, but they called it.
And she only needed 3 tonight to pass Sue Bird for that single season record. Now they are reviewing this. Now they were reviewing to see if her foot was on the line, if it's 2 shots or 3. So 2 foul shots here.
That's one of those where you just wish you would have stepped back a little bit more to get the 3.
Now, free throws tonight haven't been automatic either. Just 4 of 8 at the stripe for UConn as Ducharme will check back in. And they will take Nika Mule out for these 45 seconds with 2 fouls. No reason for her to pick up a 3rd.
Yeah, definitely smart play.
So Xavier led by 2. 14-2 run for UConn over the last 7+ minutes. Musketeers need a bucket here. Smith working on Betancourt. She's in trouble. Woods for 3. And the shot clock's turned off. You hear the crowd counting it down. Patterson beat the horn. And UConn ends the half on a 16-2 run after trailing by 2 early in the quarter.
What a play. That's the way to end the quarter. A great just attack to the rim and finish. And really an awesome second quarter from Connecticut. I mean, they got real punched in the face, I think surprised in the first quarter, and then to get some good ball movement and to finish the quarter strong really looks good for them coming into the halftime, gaining that momentum.
12-point lead for the 9th-ranked team in the country. End of the first half. After the break, Adam Zucker and the crew back in our New York studios. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal. 12-point UConn lead. The Huskies finished the last 7+ minutes on a 16-2 run. Jason Horwitz, Julianne Vianney-Brain, happy to have you back with us here in Stores. It was a very different story a couple minutes into the second quarter. Then UConn gained some control.
Yeah, they did. I mean, first quarter, you thought Xavier really came out strong. I mean, they really established themselves early, scored with UConn, and then the second quarter was just a different story. And you look at the stats here, and UConn had 11 points off turnovers. The problem to me was the Xavier turnovers. When Xavier was at their finest hour, it was when they were taking care of the ball and taking very good shots. But then they really struggled in the second quarter to take care of the basketball. But the offense was excellent to start.
Yeah, worth a watch, brought to you by Principal. And that was the end of the first when they got it to a 2-point game. Lou Lopez Seneschal on senior night kind of just started to settle in a little bit.
She did. She looked really comfortable. She was knocking down threes. They were really finding her in different situations, and they just started making shots in general. So a really great job responding to a tougher first quarter from a UConn standpoint.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, Xavier regathered itself once in this ball game. Remember, they were down by 11 early in the first quarter, and then they went on a 13-0 run of their own. Courtney Pranger on the inside, played pretty tough. Now, they did, by the way, draw 3 fouls on Xavier's big in the first half, so that's certainly something to watch here early on in the third. Newell, they go right at her, and Edwards finishes. She's into double figures with 11.
And this is where it can get really dicey when you play UConn. They just have this tendency to come out in their third quarters with so much tenacity. Can Xavier keep up with them early?
Xavier's had some offensive rebounds, 5 in the first half. Edwards called for traveling. Now that would have been her third foul, but this is more concerning as she is trying to be helped up off the floor.
You certainly don't want to see her injured. And
looked like knee to knee.
Yeah, it did look like a knee here from this perspective, especially you could tell. But she's getting up. That's a good sign. It's just been one of those years, you know, Gino's going to sub her out. You just can't afford to lose her.
Yeah, she's going to go to the bench. So Ayanna Patterson going to get some extended minutes here. By the way, it was Taylor Smith who she ran over, who was trying to shake off her calf as she was going back down the floor, but she has the ball now, and she's shooting right away.
Yeah, that's the way to really come out and be strong and elevate over the defense. The Ole Miss transfer, she missed the 2021-22 season with an injury, has gotten back this year and played very strong. She played 3 years in the SEC, so she's got experience at this level.
Well, and earlier this year, she was shooting 35% from 3. That has not carried over. The block and a jump ball. Great defensive play by Pranger, and the possession arrow to Xavier.
A good, strong play here, just rotation-wise. Pranger getting there and then forcing that opportunity back their way.
And a foul called. It's on Aubrey Griffin. You ever just watch his stare and wonder what's going through his mind?
Yeah, all the time. I think everybody does. He is one of those coaches that expects the best at all times, and he'll tell you the truth.
And Michaela Scarlett traveled. She had 2 early fouls. We highlighted her coming into this game, the leading scorer for Xavier at over 10 a game. Dorka Juhas, if you're just joining us, not playing tonight. She re-injured her ankle in the DePaul game, came back in that ball game to finish with 22 minutes. Meanwhile, they're taking a look at that left leg for Aaliyah Edwards. Sean rattles home a triple. Her third 3 of the night.
Ducharme has really been making shots. That's what she does. She goes out and makes shots. Every time she shoots the ball, you think it's going in.
It was deflected, then a held ball, and then it's back to UConn on the arrow.
Caroline Ducharme, she's just a straight-up basketball player. She's skilled. She's got a quick release. And I mean, it's good to see her on the floor. Missed a lot of games this season as well. And she's been great in tonight's game.
Now, she missed 11 games in concussion protocol.
Now, I remember when she came in and Coach Oriema said that they underestimated just how good she was. And she's just been a pleasant surprise throughout her seasons here at UConn last couple years.
Speaking of pleasant surprises, a little bit of a struggle tonight for Lopez Seneschal. Mule for three. Good box out on the rebound for Calhoun. Xavier had a 22-20 lead less than 2 minutes into the second quarter. Calhoun was run over. Scarlett, nothing called, and now they'll stop play. Shelby Calhoun comes up holding her arm.
Yeah, it looked like there was just a collision there at the end of the court here. Just running down the court, you see Aubrey Griffin gets tangled up with Calhoun. It looks like her elbow on the fall.
The majority of the end of the season for Shelby Calhoun. She was dealing with an illness earlier part of this season as well. Signed it. Patterson, Pranger playing with those 3 fouls. Ducharme on the cut, and now Pranger has 4 fouls.
What a cut from Caroline Ducharme. Just a terrific play. Backdoor cut. See, she's being overplayed, and that's the way that you shake the defense. Just go backdoor, and then the good look from Patterson, who's gotten some nice minutes here. You cannot fall asleep when you're defending a player like Ducharme, and anyone for that matter, as we look at Edwards over there on the bike.
Pranger on the bench with the 4 fouls. The lead is 18, largest of the ball game. Ovalle just throws it up there. Megan Harkey, who's going to get some extended minutes here. And UConn on the run. Lopez Seneschal's tied up. And a possession arrow again. And Xavier basketball. Well, Xavier offensively, and you were so impressed with how patient they were, the cuts they were making. How do they get back to that?
I think they've got to continue to get back to the X's and O's, the basics. Take care of the ball. They were doing that early. And just don't force passes. And you got to get rid of the ball, too. And you're seeing a double team get rid of it. And this is what we've seen. They've had to play the shot clock down badly. And they're taking tough shots.
It's all contested. Harris, great find. Harkey. And she's got a bucket.
That's the way to take advantage of that situation. Maybe the easiest bucket they'll get. That's a wide open lane there. Lopez Seneschal finding her rhythm. You sense that she was feeling it at the end of the second quarter.
Xavier missing some depth tonight as well. Nyla Blackford, their senior, hasn't seen the floor yet. She was questionable earlier today, dealing with a rib injury. And some soft touch, some soft rims. Taylor Smith with the bucket.
Yeah, she's really had some nice plays here, bringing energy.
Ducharme. Now this was a 12-point game at the half, and a foul going back the other way, and now a lot of emotions boiling over.
Yeah, some competitiveness.
Well, the officials are going to send both teams to their bench, and they're going to go to the monitor.
I think they're going to.
Yeah, they're going to go look at the monitor, which will give a chance for both teams to cool off.
I think this had to do with the possession before.
Yeah. Which will send us to a break. Settle this on the other side. Back here inside Gamble Pavilion, 16-point lead. Wednesday night, 7 Eastern, the 14th ranked UConn men's squad will host DePaul in Hartford. Tip-off on CBS Sports Network. Huskies, according to Jerry Palm in his latest bracketology, a 3 seed, which Jerry put out today on CBSSports.com. The Big East season ended today. That is what the bracket would look like at Madison Square Garden. They'd be taking on Creighton. All right, so the officials are still over at the monitor, and this is what they're looking at. Now, this is what got it all started. Yeah. So they are looking at this. This was on the defensive end of the floor for Xavier. And then here's where it was called on the floor. Running down the floor, they call an offensive foul on Taylor Smith, and then a technical foul on Lou Lopez-Seneschal. And we're going to get an explanation here from Tiara Cruz. Thank you. All right, so they're telling the coaches exactly what they told us earlier. They have confirmed that over on the other side. So no flagrant fouls added. The foul called on the floor for Taylor Smith. And then the technical foul on Lou Lopez-Seneschal, which is what was called on the floor.
She was verbally talking back. But that all had to do with the play before and then a little give back down at the other end.
Yeah.
Just the competitive nature of the sport here. It goes to show that Xavier's
so the technical free throws here will be shot first for Michaela Scarlett. And there's no bonus here, so there's no free throws coming up for UConn. And she hit them both. I think Gino Auriemma was upset that there wasn't anything called on Taylor Smith, but when you came back down the floor, I don't know if yes, there was the offensive foul, but then it also looked like Lopez-Seneschal was going at her legs with her legs.
It looked kind of like a natural fall. Yeah. It didn't look like it was a blatant trip. So I think they did the right thing. They looked back at the monitor. They saw Lou Lopez-Seneschal just got upset, and it was from the possession before that Lopez-Seneschal was annoyed.
And Edwards, maybe that'll spark some more emotions. And now that inside of 5 minutes, that block sends the team back to their benches for another timeout. (46-32) here in the third quarter. (46-32) UConn the lead on Xavier. Senior night here in stores. We'll take a look pound for pound, brought to you by Rogue Fitness. And Aaliyah Edwards, who hurt her knee, but she really has been all over the floor tonight.
She has 11 points. She's got 5 boards, 5 of 8 from the floor right now, and she is just one of those players you want on the court. She's also got 3 assists, 2 blocks. I mean, what an impressive performance she's had. Just overall, she impacts the game in so many ways.
Well, after a technical and a stoppage and the emotions boiling over, you never know who that's going to favor. But because of the multiple stoppages, I had a chance to let that cool down a little bit. It's knocked out of bounds. Harris saved it. Calhoun has it with 7 on the shot clock. Addy backing down Mule. Really tough shot. Griffin on the run. Great defensive play by Harris to get her hands in there.
Yeah, really nice play. I mean, that's typically an automatic foul call, and she just did it in a way where she was able to tip it out stopping a layup.
And a block from Harkey.
Good defense from Harkey. I mean, she came from behind there, but she's really lengthy.
Well, she has played 3 minutes a game in Big East competition, but with the injury to Blackford, the 4 fouls on Pranger, she's playing 9 minutes so far and having an impact. She's got a bucket. She's playing well defensively.
And they have no choice but to put her in. She's got some size.
And she's got an assist to Calhoun.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Calhoun has really been a gamer here, doing the little things. She's their blue-collar player, battles. And Coach Moore told us she's their vocal leader as well.
Now, a lot of stories playing out here. Mule, tough catch, and Harkey with the foul. Well, the story's playing out right now, Julian, a couple of different ways here. One, Xavier has hung around a lot more than anybody thought they would. Remember, they lost this game by 36 at home in early January and are 0-19 in conference play. The other part to all this is that UConn has played a lot of difficult games over the course of the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. That means they're a little tired.
A couple of free throws here for Nika Mule. And she hits the first. CBS Sports celebrates Black history, its limitless culture, and its undeniable impact. Mule hits them both. Xavier had a 2-point lead early in the second quarter. UConn has pushed it to as many as 18. The Musketeers have not wilted if they can get a couple of good offensive possessions. Ovalle on the drive, got around and a nice lay-in.
Yeah, really great attacking from Ovalle. I mean, Xavier's found a lot of different gaps in the lane. They've been successful when they've taken it to the basket. 18 points in the paint from them. They've finished. Remember, UConn doesn't want to foul. They've got to stay on the floor. They don't have a big bench. So you've got to continue to just attack.
DeBerry pulls back for 3. And it's the last touch by Scarlett. Well, and you talked about the bench aspect to this as well. Aubrey Griffin was getting her elbow taped on the bench during the last couple of possessions, so she's over there as well.
And I'm sure if you're Gino right now, you're thinking, I don't really want to risk putting her back in the game at all if I don't have to at this point.
Edwards thought she was fouled. Harkey got a piece of it. Woods for 3. Xavier is not a good three-point shooting team. They're 2 of 10 tonight. Went for the steal. Barry brought that down and she traveled.
And that's one of the perfect reasons why you don't bring the ball down when you're a big player like that. Ovalle is right there. You're bringing the ball down the little people territory, I like to say. It's a perfect chance for a guard to take it. Just keep it up high and go up.
Griffin in this game, she was holding her right wrist earlier. A look inside, and Woods finishes. It's back to a 10-point game.
That's a great job. Good cut to the basket. See good movement and no turnovers here. 10-2 run for Xavier.
Remember, they had a 13-0 run between the end of the first quarter and early part of the second, and an offensive foul called on UConn.
And Xavier more than hanging around here. They have really kept it close. I love this cut to the basket. Everything they're doing hard. And that time, Kezia Woods cutting really hard to the basket. And the terrific thread of the needle from Calhoun, who's really facilitated their entire offense.
Well, in the first meeting, Xavier forced UConn into 22 turnovers. Tonight, they forced 12. Scarlett forced that one up. Tough rebound. And Harkey giving him great minutes Xavier for three.
That's the way to get to the ball. First person to a 50-50 ball.
Ducharme with the hesitation move. UConn has missed its last 7 shots, approaching 3 minutes without a point. And DeBerry foul on the floor, and Woods is still down.
It looks like she's grabbing her knee here, and that does not look good.
That is her right knee she is holding.
And never a good sign when you're holding your knee like this. It looks pretty bad there. Well, she got knocked into. DeBerry just kind of backed into her.
So Melanie Moore, head coach, one leaning over there, along with the training staff. They are looking at Keisha Woods, the 6-foot sophomore from Nebraska.
I have to hope that she's okay. If she's walking off the court, that's always good. It's always a scary thing when you fall.
And they're going to help her back to the locker room. Well, all of this here in the midst of what is a 10-2 Xavier run. That was the 4th foul of the quarter on UConn. So any more here in the final 62 seconds, Xavier will be at the free throw line. UConn had an 18-point lead here in the quarter. Harkey gets it high, puts it up. And again, she's getting all these minutes because Courtney Prenger has been the cheerleader on the bench with 4 fouls.
They'll have Courtney Prenger back in the 4th quarter. And they've been able to keep this close with her on the bench. That really is a good sign for Xavier.
Mueller with the hard drive, scoops it up, and she's fouled. And she comes down holding onto her hand.
Mueller is that player who knows how to make a play when they need it. Nice penetration through the lane, a little pump fake. Nearly finishes it under contact.
And she's stretching out her right wrist.
It's been one of those nights. Both teams playing very physical.
Well, talk about how difficult offense has been to come by at stretches for both these teams. Nika Mule had 6 assists in the first quarter. UConn's offense was flowing. She has 1 since.
Numbers don't lie.
Shot clock turned off. Xavier trying to get some momentum in the game. They're hanging around here at the end of the 3rd. Xavier, hesitation, the drive. Edwards blocks it. It'll stay Xavier ball with 3.3 left in the quarter.
Edwards just so adept at finding her spots defensively. She doesn't foul. Great job with that block. She just uses her length.
Harris, tough shot. It's batted around. And that's how the quarter comes to an end. A 12-point lead at the half is a 12-point lead at the end of the 3rd quarter. UConn trying to finish off an outright regular season conference title. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal. As we take a look back on our keys to the game, brought to you by Daisy Cottage Cheese. Julianne, the top one is what you said, compete from start to finish. Xavier has done that.
They have. I mean, they really have, and I think they've done pretty good with the pace of play, and that's why the game is close. And then I don't think UConn has kept the game as up-tempo as they could. They've only got 3 fast break points. Stay out of foul trouble. They've done decent in that department. Really hasn't had anyone put out for fouls. But I really think Xavier's done a pretty good job here. They've kept it close.
and close in a 12-point game is relative when you aren't talking about a team on an 18-game losing streak.
Yes, and a team that's already lost to UConn by close to 40 points earlier in the season. So I would say it's unexpectedly close.
They got to grab one of those defensive rebounds. Mule. Huskies have a third shot at this. And Edwards banging bodies with Pranger, who did not pick up her 5th foul.
I do think Xavier has played well physically with UConn. They've bumped them around. They've been not afraid to mix it up.
Taylor Smith back on the floor. Sat most of the last part of that 3rd quarter. And Nea Harris, tough drive. Jazz can't rattle it home. UConn without a field goal in more than 7 minutes, but it's still a 12-point lead.
Right, they still have a good cushion here. This is a team that has been able to pull out a lot of wins, a lot of close calls. Says quite a bit about this team.
Offensive foul, that's not on Pranger, that was on Aaliyah Edwards. And that is her 3rd.
Aaliyah Edwards here sometimes gets called for these offensive fouls because she can sometimes just really go a little harder than needed, and it can backfire on her.
Griffin is back in the ball game for UConn. Remember, she had her right elbow being looked at by the training staff right there in the 3rd quarter. She is there guarding Taylor Smith.
You see Pranger back in the game as well, and she just got away with a walk.
Yeah, but not the call there for 3 seconds in the lane.
You see Pranger here trying to go one-on-one with Edwards. She might have actually kept her pivot foot.
Nearly 2 minutes into the 4th quarter. Neither team has scored yet here in the 4th. Edwards, bodied, got it to go. She's got 13.
How would a play for Edwards? She's just gotten so much better with her game, the way she can turn and face like a guard and put it on the deck. She's so much more versatile.
7th rebound. Mule. Jack blew past Scarlett but couldn't finish.
Mule can really put the Jets on.
Scarlett on the other end. Well, you feel the effort. I mean, the effort to get to the rim by both teams. They're just struggling around the basket. UConn shooting just 40% from the floor tonight for the 3rd best shooting team in the country. But that is what you call high percentage.
That's who you want the ball to get to, because Aaliyah Edwards takes high percentage shots. She's around the rim. She tends to finish. That's who you want to get the ball.
She's all over Scarlett.
And that's a mismatch right there.
And Mule picks Smith's pocket, but missed the bunny.
2 layups in a row from Mule.
And now she's on the floor holding her face. Now the jump ball will stay with UConn. Now Nika Mule has not made a field goal in this ball game, and none have been easier than that, but that was Edwards.
Last couple possessions, Edwards has finished strong though. Despite Mule's missed layups a couple times, a good defensive play from Mule, couldn't finish, but Edwards, this player, she's been the difference maker here. She's good, she's amazingly good, and she wows you. Her competitive nature is what strikes me every time I watch Aaliyah Edwards play.
If you can't grab the offensive board, and UConn's got numbers. Trying to put this one away. Ducharme all alone. Now it's Xavier with a 4-on-1. Smith with the pull-up jumper.
Great decision right there. If she didn't take that pull-up, I was going to call her out on that. Especially with how UConn blocks shots. Perfect shot in transition.
First points of the quarter for the Musketeers. 5:55 to go. Edwards throws it out of bounds.
And you sense that frustration, I'm sure, from Coach Oriema. Just some of the turnovers here, the sloppy play.
Now you came into the night, UConn with a win, with lock-up sole possession of an outright Big East title. But nothing has been easy tonight against the team that's going to be the 11th seed in the Big East tournament when it gets going this week. And Smith just lost it. And they throw it away again.
UConn just trying to play too fast, and that's the problem.
Now, this is what we were just talking about. A win tonight, they will finish, no matter what Villanova does tonight, ahead of the Wildcats.
But you see here, the bottom team is playing with the top team, which goes to show the strength of the league. That on any given night, anyone can beat anyone.
No, Xavier's trying to avoid what would be a school record 19th consecutive loss. 0-19 in conference. Not all of those have been back-to-back. They had a couple of conference games in December and some wins non-conference after that. They were hanging around, but not enough offense. Down by 14 as we march to March. Presented by Principal. Now, been a long time since UConn did not win a conference title. All the Huskies in the Ring of Honor, the regular season championship. They'll get another one of those coming up here. 29 conference regular season titles. They'll try to win a 28th conference tournament title and a 10th straight. And they're coming off last year's 22nd Final Four appearance. All the great players in this program's history. As we welcome it back to Gamble Pavilion, Jason Horowitz, Julianne Vianney-Brain. This year's team, we have no idea what the end will be. Certainly not what they expected it to be, with Beckers missing the whole year and Fudd all but 9 games. But it has been a grind this entire conference season.
The perfect word, and the exact word I think Gino would say is the grind. And you know, he's stated that this is the toughest it's ever been. All these years he's coached, he's never had this many injuries. He almost feels like he's making up for it because he was so lucky for so many years, he said, where we didn't experience injuries that much. Really, when you think back to those teams, they were always healthy. So it's been tough, but listen, they're about to win the Big East championship. I mean, the regular season championship, that's a huge feat.
At 18-2 in conference play. If they can finish this off in the last 4-14, Kaylee Addy with a nice up and under. They like this freshman from Atlanta. They think she's going to give them a lot in the coming years.
It definitely has a lot of skill, and again, the Xavier team very young. Lost a lot of people this year to injuries as well, and playing in a strong conference with a lot of older players.
Well, it was set up back there in 1902. You want to talk about setting up a future. First ever UConn's women's club was formed and finished that season with a 5-0 record. Now you fast forward to 1974 after Title IX. That was UConn's first recognized intercollegiate team.
Amazing.
Timo Onyema takes over in 1985, and the rest is history. But you want to talk about the fact that, hey, one of the best programs ever, and it started in 1902 with a team that went undefeated 5-0.
It really is crazy looking at the history and where it all started and where it is now. And even the outfits and the way the jerseys have changed, it's so funny.
And Addy just rips it away from Betancourt. Now they're not done here yet here. 3 minutes and change to go. It's a 12-point game.
I love how Xavier's battling. They have not given up.
Away from Calhoun, and Betancourt knocks it out of bounds. Inez Betancourt will go back to the bench.
Xavier continuing to use the pick and roll game, the penetration to the basket game. We've seen a lot of good buckets. Kaylee Addy getting to the rim that time.
Tough pass. Edwards the steal, coast to coast, and might have just locked up an outright Big East title.
Big steal from Edwards. I mean, you just can't telegraph your passes around her. She is poaching. She gets into passing lanes so nicely. It often happens with that pass to the wing. That's where UConn is really all over it. You gotta go the other way or get yourself open a little easier when you're trying to enter the offense.
She has been by far their most consistent player tonight. Scarlett drills a three.
And Scarlett putting one up with some poise there. We haven't seen a ton of threes go down in this game.
UConn's gonna take a timeout. They have to grind this one out too in the final 2:09. On the offensive and on the defensive end, Maria Edwards has been UConn's best player, and much of the year has been the case, but tonight specifically.
She has. She's been all over the floor defensively as well, just getting in passing lanes and creating some offense off her hustle. But she's really been just a bright spot offensively, where for UConn they've not had the easiest night offensively.
Foul was called on Harris, and that is just the first on Xavier here in the quarter. If the Musketeers can get a stop and a bucket, maybe put a little bit of pressure on UConn down the stretch. Lopez Seneschal. There's Edwards, and a putback.
So Edwards has been there down the stretch here, playing big time, putting up elite shots, rebounds, you name it. She's got 8 boards here on the night.
And some steals, but they lost Pranger.
That's a big loss, Jason. That was a huge quarter there without her. That's basically the third quarter.
With 4 fouls, she picked up that 4th early. But if you were Melanie Moore, you were ecstatic with the minutes you got from Megan Harkey.
She did well. She didn't try to do too much, and she was able to do some good things, but not having Pranger. But luckily she wasn't out hurt or anything like that. She was just in foul trouble.
Timeout for substitution.
Timeout here taken to get a substitution into the ball game. Dino Oriema wanted to get Lou Lopez Seneschal a send-off here on senior night.
Oh, what a season she's had.
That's not going to count. She did not beat the shot clock. So 17 turnovers tonight for Gino Oriema. Now again, everybody finishing their final game tonight. UConn will be the 1 seed. Great look inside again. 9-point game, 42 seconds now.
That's just pretty poor defense there. Really easy look for Xavier.
Now, Melanie Moore choosing not to foul here in a 9-point game. They hung tough with the conference champs, and now the foul called.
Tough is exactly the word, and that's all she asked of this team, is to play with intensity, to play tough, and they did.
Well, and again, we said this earlier in the ball game. Xavier's had some games where they hung tough, but the final score, her squad has lost by double digits in every game in the month of February. We'll see if UConn chooses to shoot here. There is a 2-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. But if not, this is only a 9-point game. A kick out. Ewell does shoot the 3. And that is about what is set to wrap up the finish here. Xavier came in, gave UConn everything it could handle, but the night ends like all the last 10 years. An outright Big East title for Gino Oriema and the UConn Huskies. Tenth straight conference titles, 7 of those in the American, now the last 3 here in the Big East. They finish at 18-2, a full game ahead of Villanova, as they will all get set to head to the conference tournament, getting going later this week. And for Xavier, they'll finish the regular season without a conference win, but certainly something to build on as they head to the conference tournament. Hanging with UConn, losing by 9. We'll be back to wrap up in Stores, coming up right after this. Senior Associate Commissioner Jackie Campbell presenting the Big East regular season title. Gino Auriemma with Julianne.
Coach, congrats, a Big East regular season title solidified. I know it wasn't a pretty win for you guys, but you were able to do it. How meaningful has it been pulling out wins, even though it's been close these last few games?
Yeah, these last 2 weeks have been really, really difficult. You know, every game's a struggle. You know, everything we try to do is a struggle. You know, hopefully these next 4 or 5 days we can, get better organized. But I'm proud of them because it's been a long season and they've been through a lot. And we came out of this, winning a Big East championship, which is a heck of a thing considering what we've been through.
Yeah, how much more meaningful is it that you have won a Big East championship despite the injuries, despite the emotional roller coasters and letdowns? It must be a lot more special for you in that regard this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they all mean something, and they're all important. There was a time when either last year or this year where I thought it'd really be really difficult because of what we were missing, and eventually it was going to catch up to us. And so yeah, to finally be standing, and say that we're the Big East champions, that's still it's a body of work, So none of it was pretty, at least in the late stages of the season, but it's not a pretty season.
Coach, what do you want to see moving forward? We got the Big East tournament coming up. What do you want to see out of your young women coming forward here?
I think we got to get, and I've been saying this for a month now, something's going on with our offense. I mean, it looks great in practice, but not so great in games. Or we'll do something great on offensively and we'll break down defensively. So I think it's more of we got to regroup, It's almost like we got to go back to preseason training camp.
Congratulations. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Jason.
All right, Julianne, thank you very much. As we take a look at the final stats and what he was talking about with some of the struggles for his team offensively, they are on the season shooting nearly 50% from the floor, top 5 in the country. Tonight, though, against Xavier, just 40% from the floor. The turnovers have been an issue at different times throughout the season, and 17 more tonight in a game that they had to fight all the way to the finish, but Aaliyah Edwards carried them down the stretch, leading the way with 19 points tonight to go along with 8 rebounds and 3 block shots. And they have the outright regular season title. A little bit more subdued afterwards when they received the trophy. We're putting on the championship shirts. The standings here as they head to the tournament later on this week. UConn, Villanova, and Creighton, the top 3 in the conference. Certainly something to build up for Xavier and the game they played well tonight. Yeah, and the final score tonight here in Stores. Aaliyah Edwards leads UConn to a 60-51 win over Xavier. Now for Julianne, Vianney, Brandon, our entire crew, I'm Jason Horowitz. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Now let's send you back to New York. Adam Zucker and the crew standing by